Welcome to the Merlin Crypto Market update located on the X app. I'm Abs, the host and senior engagement officer at Merlin, and today's episode features a replay from our Merlin X Spaces. Every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m., you can catch us live on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. We dive into captivating discussions about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology with our engaged audience, special guests, and the founders of Merlin. Please note, these spaces can sometimes experience technical hiccups and end suddenly. It's all part of the experience. Thanks for tuning into the Crypto Market Update, proudly brought to you by Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto.
Happy Taco Tuesday, everyone. Thank you for joining. Mario, please join me up on stage, sir. Oh, wow. I don't know if should I play it again, Mario? Should I play the song one more time?
Hit it one more time, Ray.
Oh man. How about we play the Merlin Jam one more time to let the room fill up, and then also give a few more minutes for Johnny to hop on stage as well. Appreciate you guys for joining and your patience. I hope you're all having a wonderful Taco Tuesday, and we'll get into it. But that's if I can find the hot jab. We might as well just dive right on into it, Mario. I apologize. So the song is disappeared on iTunes for the moment, so I'm gonna dive on in. But welcome everyone. Happy Taco Tuesday. It's whether the sun's rising, shining, or setting in your corner of the world right now. Welcome to this special X Space. My name is Ray Fuentes. I'm thrilled to be the moderator of this exclusive session powered by Merlin, where we're changing the game in crypto tracking. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate you. Raise that fist one more time for love, first, sir. But today we've got a packed lineup. We've got the Node Master Mario and soon Johnny from the Good Morning Crypto. Unfortunately, Abs has experienced some delays with his flights, so we're just going to be chugging along without the man with the most brilliant beard in all the crypto industry. But we may also get a special guest appearance from Alex Damsker. She is a decorated securities lawyer who's been gracious enough to share her time with us. She may be running a little bit late. We did decide to postpone this X Space by another 30 minutes. So was supposed to start at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but unfortunately, it is what it is. We'll be diving deep into the stuff that really matters: XRP ETFs, institutional adoption, U.S. crypto strategic reserve, sound U.S. crypto regulations, D for all the above. And you know what? There is the man himself. Let me bring up Johnny to speaker. And before we kick things off and turn things over to those that really matter up on stage, Johnny and Mario, check out Merlin, the crypto app revolutionizing the way that us investors worldwide, or actually for the moment in Canada and US, can track our crypto. Imagine having your entire digital asset portfolio right at your fingertips, all in one sleek, intuitive application, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android. So these guys are interoperable. The Merlin application is the go-to application for tracking your crypto, and it is the go-to application for executing your very own custom crypto exit strategy. The stage is stacked with expertise, and we're ready to share some serious insights. So let's kick things off here. Johnny, Mario, how you guys doing today? It's Merlin time.
Do we have crypto up on stage yet?
I'm sorry?
Johnny Crypto up on stage yet? Because my
Oh, you know what?
thing
Oh,
is
did
glitching.
he was up on stage. Now he's back up. I see speaker on him.
Yep. So yeah, doing amazing. Great introduction as always, Ray. You killed it. Welcome to another beautiful Taco Tuesday. Here on this Merlin Spaces. Super excited to get into it, Ray, and can't wait for us to talk about the topics that you have prepared for us.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be all things, as mentioned, White House, uh, the White House summit plus the U.S. Crypto Strategic Reserve. Reading off of Abs' most recent post, looks like Trump's warming things up to send things to the moon with uh, most recent executive orders and all things trending to the right. Unfortunately, it seems like the market has taken a little bit of a pullback. I mean, we're looking at Bitcoin at 88K, XRP just above $2. So it is what it is, but I think this is a healthy pullback, a healthy correction. Maybe it's not just a buying opportunity for us, but maybe those the whales or the incumbents, those that are really moving the market. So I think it's regardless, so it's an opportunity for us to participate and seize these downturns. So Johnny, you are up on speaker. Are you there, sir?
Yeah, so good evening to all the crypto maniacs out there, Ray. You call it Taco Tuesday. I call it Trump Dump Tuesday. But whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day, I just tell everybody to relax, take a deep breath. The best is yet to come. So many good catalysts coming, and we'll talk about those tonight. But there's so many good things, and I know everybody's panicking right now in the whole world. But listen, you got to understand, this is Trump's way of getting things done. He threatens, he'll throw out the tariffs, and it's got I think the whole world's shaken. But the reality is, I view these things a little differently. I kind of take the contrarian view as well. Everybody's panicking and worrying. I'll be honest with you, Ray. I'm selling the cat, the dog, the toys, anything I can sell. And I'm buying as much crypto as I can right now because, in my opinion, it's a discount. But yeah.
Well said. I mean, I'm starving over here, but that's just because I'm cash poor and putting everything into alternative investments like digital assets. You're absolutely right. Hey, Johnny, a little bit old news, but I think it's still obviously very relevant. It's Ripple's headquarters in Washington D.C. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, where else? Where better to be than right next to the president of the United States? That's his new buddy. I think Brad and
Exactly.
Trump are buddies. I mean, listen, if you want to be doing business, and right now these guys aren't fools. I was when we were there for the inauguration, and Ray, you were there with us. You may recall we were walking by a bunch of buildings, and we're like, "That's where all the senators meet to make all the phone calls to raise the money, and that's where all the senators meet over there to do this. That's where all they meet to do." That's where they are. That's where the lobbyists are. I mean, you got to be in the heart and middle of it. And you're in something that's very, very early on in its infancy, this whole category, if you will. So early. And so it makes sense to be close to the decision makers.
Mm-hmm.
And, being right in the heart in the city of DC there, to me, I'm sure it was strategic. Everything they do is strategic, smart, and think about it. A lot of the people they hire come from DC. So what
Very
about
true.
how easy it is to pick off a couple players from DC, be like, hey, you want to work for us? Yeah. And oh, by the way, you get to stay where you live. So, to me, I think it's a very, very strategic and probably smart move that they made.
100%. What are the odds if they take over or have an office in the Federal Reserve building? Or 'cause did you notice that building was currently under construction?
Well, that thing's been under construction for I think 2 years, 2 years now. I don't think that thing's been under construction for quite some time now. It looks terrible.
It's like the Sagrada Familia of Spain. Just always, it'll be forever under construction.
I was gonna say, or like I-95 or 84. It's always under construction. They don't ever freaking have these freaking highways ever done. Construction forever, money pit. But yeah, we'll have to see where that's going. Federal Reserve, boy, they're giving Trump a hard time over there. I heard Powell's like, "Oh, we're not going to lower rates." So you might have to now with the economy headed to a recession. It's almost like he's battling his own internal folks. We got enough issues with all the other countries whacking tariffs on us, which, by the way, they've always had tariffs on us to start with. He's just trying to level the playing field, and now everybody's getting mad. But to have your own government kind of, folks inside giving you a hard time, that's going to be very interesting. See how long Powell lasts.
To the point where people are either, hey, I'm a big Trump fan and a patriot over here. So if the fact that Trump is putting tariffs on others for the benefit of the U.S. is great, but I think some individuals also might forget that those tariffs will lead to higher prices, which will then lead to or result in higher price goods, which in a way in itself is inflation again. And so I what are your thoughts on that, Johnny? But ultimately, is inflation necessary to start basically peaking interest for other new quote unquote highways or areas of parking your capital?
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, whenever you institute tariffs, that's always going to act as a tax to your consumer base, because a lot of companies, I should say a lot, but all the companies are ultimately going to pass that tariff on to the customer. So it is going to be a tax on you and me. And typically when they put it on, they typically don't remove it. So what we need to hope for, and this is just my own personal opinion, what I'm hoping for, is that Trump is using these as scare tactics, negotiation tactics to bring people to the countries to the table to negotiate quickly. And you want them to negotiate quickly and put an end to this before companies actually institute the tariffs. Because once they institute them, they won't remove them. But I can tell you, I talked to companies, even our own company where I work for, and we don't want to install the tariffs. We don't want to push higher prices on our consumers. And so I know that even though there's talk they're coming, our company might even absorb them for a bit to see if it's kind of one of those things that, it's coming now, but then it's going to get removed if they negotiate, because they don't want to pass that on to the consumer because they know it's impossible to take back. So I think a lot of companies are going to sit on the sideline and wait to see what's going to really happen, how long this is going to, how real these are versus scare tactics before they decide to pass it on to the consumer. But if it goes like 6 months or a year, companies are not going to be able to absorb that for that long, and they'll start passing it on.
Well, let's talk about some bigger and brighter things, if you don't mind, for a second. While we've got Mario up on stage, because I know Mario is the man behind the curtains with all things related to developments to Merlin's application. You guys came out with a recent product update for the improved asset lists and things of the nature. Mario, do you mind, before we get back into the meat and potatoes of the topics of today, do you mind touching base on some of those product improvements?
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure. Thanks, Ray. So for anybody that doesn't know, I am the manager at customer support over at Merlin. So obviously, customer happiness and success is my top priority. Along with that, I'm always super proud to make the announcements of whenever we do make, whenever the technical team does release updates to the app. So over last week, There was a massive update. It kind of combined a lot of things that have been asked over the last few months, and that's basically just an improved way of seeing your assets, an improved asset list, which gives you a lot more customizability. You're able to organize the columns how you want them. You're able to hide and show information as you please. So it was a massive update because again, it just allows the user to really see this list in a tailored way. Which is what Merlin's all about. And Johnny can speak to it a lot more as he was involved in the early talks of developing Merlin. That the big thing of Merlin was to create it so that you had the power in your hands, so that you had the ability to manually change certain things, whether you were getting a wrong price or whether you were getting wrong transaction data. Just having all those manual tools at your fingertips so that you could, have your portfolio showing the way that it's supposed to be. And so this was another great improvement by the team. For anyone who does not follow Merlin's YouTube page, I highly encourage you to go to YouTube and search Merlin Crypto. Me and Abs did an episode last week where we showed this feature, and you can see it live. And then obviously for anybody who has not done yet, make sure you head over to merlincrypto.com and start your first 30 days free. So first 30 days are free, and you can see exactly for yourself everything that I'm talking about.
Well said, Mario. I made sure that I, excuse me, pinned a recent Merlin tweet or post in the nest here, where I believe you guys were speaking with King Solomon and did a recent review of the updates. So kudos to you guys. You did a great job. Johnny, any comments that you'd like to address before we switch gears to the next topic?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're always trying to innovate. Innovation is the lifeblood of anything. We're always trying to improve Merlin and make it better and better and easier for the customer. We listen to the feedback. We listen to what people tell us, and we leverage that and build that into the product to make it more better and useful for them. So I don't want to bore everybody to death here on Merlin, on features we make, but I want people to understand that if you're a Merlin user, please share that feedback with Mario or our customer service team, because we take it to heart. I'm a true believer that the consumer is the boss, and we like to listen to what you guys tell us, and we try to implement this. So we'll always continue to make Merlin better and better. This is just the beginning, and we hope that we hear a lot of great feedback that's improving people's lives. That gives me a lot of joy, because that's what we put it out for, is to help others be able to make good decisions, and more importantly, Ray, to be ready to have an exit plan. How happy are you right now if you sold? If my Merlin, my exit targets were in the 277 range and the 330 range. How happy are you if you took profits at those levels right now,
I would
tonight? How happy?
I would
Right?
I would be thrilled. I mean, I speaking from personal experience, Johnny, I thought I was the smartest man alive back in 2021 when I invested, made my first considerable investment into XRP and others. But ultimately, watching my investment nearly 10x and thinking that it was going to continue on and not have an exit strategy at that time. I wish I did, because ultimately I watched, I think you call it a rubberneck. I watched it go up and then I watched it come back down. But it thankfully, let's just say it went from, I think it was about 17 cents. It ran up to about $2.55, 260. And then it hovered around 230, 210, right around that range for quite some time. And so I capitalized on that swing and did what I thought was best for my investment thesis at the time. So, but again,
Well,
if I would have had something like Merlin, where I could have saved myself and some of and didn't leave so much money on the table. That's where I'm getting at. And for
well,
a minimum investment on a monthly investment, uh, it's well worth it.
well, Ray, let me say, first of all, welcome to the Rubberneck Club. You're not the only one.
Thank you, Johnny.
We're all rubberneckers here. I am, Mario is, Abs is, Coach. We all, and for those of you who are new to this group or don't know what a rubbernecker is, a rubbernecker is someone who watches their account go all the way up, and your neck goes all the way back, and then you watch it come all the way back down. Your neck comes all the way forward. You're stretching that neck in both directions, and unfortunately, you watch it go up, you watch it go down, and you didn't take any profits, and that is not your fault. That is human nature. It's hard. You can't help yourself. I can't help myself. That's why we created Merlin, because what happens is when you're in the moment of emotion, you said it, Ray. You said the words. You said, I thought it was going to keep going up.
Yep.
That's exactly how the game is rigged and set up to play. They will never, ever let you think the price is coming down when they know they're about ready to pull the price down, when they know everything's over leveraged. They know they can see the inside information in trading. You and I can't. And so they big boys have an advantage over us in any of these, in any market, crypto market, stock market. They can see the back end trades, the book orders, and all the stuff to know when things are over leveraged and played out, whereas you and I can't. So they know when they're going to pull the trigger, and they are never going to let you think that at the price they're going to pull the trigger, that's as high as it's going to go. They're going to make you think it's going higher. So you're going to hold, and you're going to hold, and it's going to pull back, and you're going to continue to hold, and you're going to watch it go all the way down. So I caught a ton. So with having Merlin, I got my alerts, 277, 333, and I sold. And I caught a ton of grief on Good Morning Crypto. Everybody yelling at me, why are you selling? You're an idiot. Don't sell your XRP. You're crazy, Johnny, blah, blah, blah. It's going to $10, blah, blah, blah. And here we are at $2, right?
Oh,
Now,
God.
how happy am I? Because guess what? All those profits that I sold at 277, 330, I can plow them back in right now at $2.
Yeah.
Which is what I've done, right? And now they're ready to go. I built my bags even bigger, and now they're ready to go up. That's why and when I sold Ray, and I'll leave everybody with this, I'm not selling everything. I didn't sell 100%. I sold like 5% of my holdings.
Oh, good for you, Johnny.
You know what I mean? And that's the game.
Well, hey, before and thank you, Cardano, for is it Cardano Review for coming up on stage. I do want to say thank you to Alex Damsker, who also came up on stage as well, our special guest for the evening. Alex, how you doing? You're a decorated securities lawyer who's had your thumb above the target for quite some time. How you doing today, Alex?
Oh, I'm doing well. My husband is picking up my daughter, so
Oh,
that's
okay, good.
yay. Otherwise, I was having like a little bit of a tricky time period here, but fortunately, he's going to be able to get my daughter, so that's great.
Oh, awesome. Well,
Yay.
thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you working with us, and tell your husband kudos. What a wonderful hubby. You've got him well trained.
Well, I wouldn't say that to him, but yes. He's wonderful. He helps out whenever he can, and he's leaving early so that he can go get her. My daughter does robotics, and so she stays late at school. It's build season for anybody whose kids are in robotics. Spring is build season because it's competition season. Competition is coming. And so my kid is working hard every day, basically, and the weekends to make sure that the robot works, so that their team's really good. And they take competition very seriously. So the first competition's coming up shortly. It's like in a week. It's next weekend is their first competition. So it's all we hear is about the robot. Like apparently, I'm like, did you go to other classes? So I hope.
Yeah,
So that is what's happening in our life, and it's we don't go anywhere for spring break anymore because there's always an away trip for competition. And during winter break, you have to be home early. You have to come back wherever you are early because there's, the reveal of whatever the competition is. Anybody who knows about this, this robotics cycle, we're in this grind. We're in.
yeah,
This is how you live. I keep trying to convince them they're not interested, but this is what I try to convince them of, this great business idea that I have for them. They're always trying, they need to raise money and do stuff like that and there's like a specific awards for the robotics competition. And I'm always like, guys, you got to do like a side BattleBots competition. You would totally rake in cash. BattleBots are awesome. They don't actually, these are all like just
is that still
action
around?
robots. And I'm like, dude, one blade on the front, tear these suckers apart. It'd be awesome. Now I understand why you don't want kids maybe messing with deadly robots. But I was like, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
Build BattleBot competitions and then do it like as a side activity, and then people can come in and like, do these things, and I'm like, ooh, we could run a line on them. I am not a good mom for this group.
Oh
Like,
no,
we could place bets.
I was gonna say, if we start placing XRP bets, I think you're in the clear.
It's not good. I am not in charge of any of this stuff, and for a very good reason. Because I'm like, ooh, I know what we could do. but anyway, but these are kids are doing great in this competition. So
Oh,
anybody who's got kids that are interested in science, robotics is a great thing to get into.
that's a great story. Thank you for sharing, and what an exciting aspect of being a parent. I myself am a happy father. My daughter's only 3 though, so she's not there yet. She's still playing with the magnetic sand and all that other fun stuff. Thankfully, no investments I mean, she is. Kids are expensive regardless, so it is what it is. But anyways, hey, let's shift gears here. Let's talk about the U.S. Strategic Crypto Reserve. Would love to get your insights because I know that you had some concerns or at least some questions with the recent updates. You had questions, if I recall, Alex, where you were concerned about when purchases should be made within the reserve, liquidation requirements. Can it be used to pay down the debt? What are your thoughts? I would love to get some further insights in regards to the U.S. Crypto Strategic Reserve.
Yeah, so the reserve that's actually that was in the executive order, that one is very broad. So my information on the breakdown comes largely via TCM Labs, and the executive order doesn't actually have enough detail to tell us enough about uh, the the reserve itself. So there's 2 different reserves that they're operating with. One is this Bitcoin reserve, and the second is this digital asset reserve. And remember also that the states have been setting up their own Bitcoin reserves, right? So those are separate things. Now, they operate differently than the federal Bitcoin reserve will operate. Now, the Bitcoin reserve was specifically to hold the reserve that was from basically civil forfeiture, right? So it's not stuff um, that is purchased with tax dollars. So it's the stuff from Silk Road, whatever's left, right? Some of it's already been sold, and then also, although they do say there's about 200,000 in Bitcoin that's currently being held, and then also anything that currently comes up that's held, so probably what they hold still on like the colonial pipe, like what they seized from there, plus also whatever they continue will seize in the future, as well as potentially um, uh, things that are purchased through the sale of other assets, presumably other seized digital assets, right? Now, that's so that they're not actually purchasing Bitcoin with tax dollars. The issue here is that they don't say a few things. One is who's holding the multi-sig? Miami coin, remember, got rugged. You can't put it past anyone to rug anything. And when it comes down to it, a wallet is a wallet, and this is going to be a big ass wallet. Knowing who holds those keys, that's like as powerful as a nuclear football. Who do you give the keys to that multi-sig to? That is going to be something that I really am very interested in knowing. And I don't want them to all be the same party. So I'm very interested in knowing how that is going to be held, because I don't want someone or some party to get together, and I don't care which party it is, but I don't want a party to get together and say, that could just be part of our reelection fund or something like that. And anytime you think, well, that could never happen, yes, it could, right? You're always only as safe as the government that's in power, no matter how great your structures are. And, your money's always as safe as the government that you have decides it's going to be. And that's the kind of thing that always, you've got to always keep that in mind. So we don't know who holds the multi-sig and what kind of fail safes there are in there. We also don't know what triggers buys, which include digital asset purchases. What would trigger a buy? And is that the need, is there a market dip that would do that? Is it the need to shore up reserves? Like, what would trigger a buy for that particular reserve? We don't know what would trigger a sell for that particular reserve either. Would it be used, for example, if there's another pandemic and the economy needs stimulation? Could that reserve be liquidated in part? Right? Is there some way that we would be generating? Is it supposed to generate interest? What are we doing with that? Is it supposed to be something that financial tools operate out of, right? So is it something where it's basically a financial nut that grows where the interest is feeding the people? So here's how, for example, generational wealth works. Generational wealth is essentially where you have a huge financial nut, like a core financial reserve, and the interest fees at least one person plus their heir, right? So the interest is basically enough to give you wealth to feed you for your life, like to give you whatever you need and pay for your life. And that right now means that core value has to be somewhere in like the mid figures right now. That's generational wealth. So let's say we get a reserve that's high enough where the nut is generating interest and that interest is kicked out to the citizens, right? So, could we create a reserve that basically starts generating interest that compounds, right? It comes back into the reserve, which generates more wealth and then generates more interest, which comes back into the reserve, which generates more interest, which comes back to the reserve, right? Until it gets to a certain point. And then we use different financial tools. And then those financial tools, basically, once it gets to X point, X financial point, those financial tools essentially use the interest from that pool of wealth and pay out the interest to citizens, right? Is that maybe a plan where essentially it's wealth building to be paid out to citizens, sort of like an inverse tax payment, if that makes sense to you? It is kind of like what happens in Alaska, right? So Alaska has a bunch of oil, and the essentially the payments from the oil, because it's owned partially by the citizens of Alaska, the interest payments get kicked back to the citizens of Alaska, and they essentially get a refund on their taxes every year. And that is from that oil that, it's basically they're getting a licensing fee essentially. That's kind of how you can think about it. So is there a way to basically make this something like that, or is it just a pot that's sitting? If it's not, if it's sitting there, it should be growing, right? So I don't know what the mechanism is to make it grow. It should have a financial tool embedded in it to make it grow. No asset should ever sit and do nothing, right? That is a lazy asset. No asset should ever be lazy. So we have to figure out what's the purpose of this thing. And then what would ever make us need to liquidate it, and who gets to decide if it gets liquidated? So, and then the other thing is, if we should ever add other assets into this mix of assets that we have. And let's say we start building a true treasury, not the treasury that we have, which is basically a fiat treasury. What we have instead is a mix of assets that are our treasury that we essentially start building up and start generating interest on, right? So we're doing that in addition to creating all the goods and services that we create, which is what we generally think of as our GDP. We're doing that, but also we're building up a separate set of assets that we might, for example, loan out. We might loan out. Like, what if we decide that in this pool of Bitcoin, we decide to loan it out to other governments, or we decide to collateralize a loan with it, or something like that? I don't know if we're allowed to do that because the rules of this haven't been set yet. So these are all things that I would want to know, but we could, for example, theoretically get a cheaper loan uh, based on, depending on where interest rates are in different countries. We could theoretically at some point get a cheaper loan and collateralize it with Bitcoin, pay down a bunch of our debt, for example, and be able to refinance a lot of our internal economics, which we need to because our population has changed so much, right? Now we have a bunch of people getting older that are not going to be in the working population. And we have AI, which is also removing people from the working population. So we need to consider restructuring our economics. So, anyway, we don't know a lot of that, but it's good to have an economic engine outside of labor. I just don't know what people are planning on doing with it. The other engine that we have is going to be these other, what is it, five tokens. But at least four of them have never been seized. So I don't know what they're planning on doing to get that. That would be selling Bitcoin, I guess, or ETH to get those. I'm not sure how they're planning on accessing XRP or Sol or ADA or whatever, because they've never seized those. So how are they planning on getting those into this, or are those just theoretical ones that would be permitted should they ever be seized? And then in this pool, they have to think, well, if we're doing a pool of assets, do we want this pool of assets to just sit there? Or should it be something that does something? Is it an investable pool of something? Should it be something that then maybe backs its own currency? Could it be then the base of, say, a non-fiat stablecoin? Could it be, for example, something that would you add maybe some non-crypto elements in it to offset the volatility of the crypto elements? Let's say we add a few metals in there and maybe a fiat, right? Could we form a fund then that looks like a pretty decent backing for a stable coin that's a non-fiat backed stable coin? Could that be the base of what that is? It could be, but I don't know what the intention is for this digital currency thing that we don't even know where they're planning on getting these assets and what assets they would sell to buy ADA and all these other ones because they don't have them right now. So there's just a ton of questions right now. There's a lot of potential that I think we have with the use of these. I just don't know what the plans are, and I don't know who's going to hold these things, and those things make me a little nervous.
Well, Alex, that there's a lot to unpack there, and I, without putting a tinfoil cap on, I will uh, just lay this up and say I would bet dimes to donuts that it would more than likely need to be someone like Big Brother to oversee, or some type of eye in the sky to oversee the governance of the, or the institution of these new and evolving technologies and economical engines, like you've referenced. To highlight a potential technology, which I'd love to hear Mario's thoughts, is the. I mean, you're saying what would be the algorithm, or what would be the solution for triggering the buys and sells of something like, well, I'm not saying that. What's the economical engine behind Ripple's escrow? Could that be the very use case, or something to look at as a North Star? I would assume that would probably be a great place, knowing that the company has billions on balance sheet. Is that the driver? The technology that you've referenced, could that be the use case for UBI, if it's sustainable and enough assets collateralized, or yields being generated? And so, again, there's a lot to think about or unpack. Mario, what are your thoughts on, after hearing Alex just going into great detail about uh, from governance to Alaska's tax structure to D for all the above?
Well, I think you said the right phrase. There's a lot to unpack, and actually, she made a lot of valid observations about the current stance of everything that we have lingering in the crypto space for the reserve and the potential stockpile of crypto. Um, I think the one thing that she said that obviously I resonated a lot with is all the different scenarios. It's something that I had not thought of or even heard of before. So that was definitely excellent. Excellent analysis on her part, of all the different scenarios of which these assets could potentially come of custody of the United States. And one of the things, being super hyper focused on security, when it comes to a user's perspective, that's something that I teach a lot within the 3T Warrior Academy. That those are some valid points, and those are some valid concerns that if I was the government, I would definitely be worried about all that quantity of Bitcoin. How exactly are they going to store it? I mean, my gut almost wants to say that they might go towards a custody solution that is obviously not just enterprise, but probably the most renowned. Um, but definitely something to be worried about because as we've heard over the years and even recently about hacks that happen. So I definitely want to see how the government handles that. I think it's something that this crypto space still has a lot to offer, which it comes to security and the developments around the security aspect of custody. So I thought those were some great points. I really enjoyed listening to what she had to say.
Johnny, what say you, sir? And then as well, Cardano review. Thank you for joining us today, sir. Been quiet up on stage.
Hey,
Before we hear from Johnny, how you doing?
yeah, let's definitely get him up here to talk. First of all, Alex, thank you for joining us tonight. Always a pleasure. I thought you brought up really, really good points. Those are all the kinds of things that need to be laid out, and that's why we need good crypto stewards here to set up the rules, set up how we're gonna operate this? How are we going to manage it? Who's going to have the oversight? What is the criteria of how we buy? Is it going to be, we don't want to see any government manipulation, right? So maybe, again, this is pure speculation. I have no clue how they're going to do it, but there are things you could do to kind of take some of the nefarious activity out of it by saying, hey, you know what? Every quarter on this day, we're going to buy this much Bitcoin, or we're going to buy this much of this. And I mean, for the most part, it's a reserve. It's meant to be held, not sold. So I don't know if there ever will be a sell criteria. Maybe there is. Maybe it's baked in. But to me, those are all the kinds of valid points of how to set it up properly. And that's what our Congress needs to do. That's why I'm nervous, because they have no clue what they're doing. But hopefully with the new crew, with David Sachs and the team, they're supposed to be bringing in experts. That's the kind of stuff they need to be thinking about. How do we set up all the right things in place so that these things can be, again, not manipulated, but if we just set it to us, just like Ray, you mentioned the XRP ledger, or sorry, the escrow. Every month they release $1 billion. That's it. That's the rule. That's how it works. And so they can do things like that where, hey, every month we're going to buy so much Bitcoin on this day and at this time, and boom, it executes it, and that's it. And the nice thing is, unlike our budgets, where we have no clue where they're spending the money until Elon built the Doge group to be able to track it. The nice thing about this is the government wallet, all the access. Alex talked about who's going to hold the keys. Well, more importantly is, who are they going to show us the wallet, right? Show us the address. It doesn't matter what's the key when we can see exactly what's happening. So then it's public blockchain. Everybody can see where the money's going, what's being bought, where it's being held, if it's being moved. Now, we don't know why it's being moved, but at least we can see it, and then you can ask questions. So for me, I think it's a matter of how do you put all that governance in place, and those are things we're just going to have to wait and see how David Sachs and the teams decide to move forward. But I believe there are things they can do to at least put some of the precautionary things in place to address some of the concerns that Alex brought up.
Appreciate that, Johnny. Great insight, sir. Crypto N, before we come to you, sir, want to give the stage to Cardano Review, who's been the most patient person in Web3, or at least the most patient person up here up on stage. How you doing today?
Hey, doing good, doing good. Hey, shouts out to everybody. It's been a long time since I've been on this space. But yeah, shouts out to Alex, out to Johnny, Joe, out to Mario, and also Crypto N. I've seen you like a long time ago, but it's good to see you back up here. And of course, shout out to you, Marilyn, for hosting this space. But yeah, last time I was really like paying attention to everything in terms of like the reserves and everything. I remember Trump had came out and he said that he wants to make Bitcoin the Bitcoin capital of the world, and that they're going to have these strategic Bitcoin reserves. Now now that it comes down to the wire, it looks that they're going to be taking they've already seized, and they're going to be not selling those, so they'll just be holding those for everybody. And I think it's good because it take taxpayers' money away. But when you consider the fact that the Fed just prints money out of things, it's like I don't see what's wrong with them printing money and then using that to buy more Bitcoins or any other coins like Ethereum or Cardano or whatever. And so what I really feel like is we have to kind of wait and see what is about to happen. But from the everyday mom and pop person who's trying to get involved and stuff like that, what I still recommend people do is to educate yourself, and it's real easy. It's a lot easier than you might think. Get a trust wallet, put like 10, 20 bucks worth of Bitcoin in there, send it around to different wallets, see how you like to try out Ethereum, try out Cardano, try out Solana, see how you like the technology. And from there, no decision on how much you want to, portfolio and hold for the long term. Also, we can just take a look and see. We got the coins like Bitcoin, which has a fixed supply. What has done over the past 17 years? Over time, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up and goes down, but over time, it goes up. So I would also recommend taking a look in those fixed supply coins that are out there and seeing about doing your research on that. But yeah, that's what I want to say real quick. It's great to be up here. I see we got some hands up. So what's up?
Cardano Review, thank you so much. Your energy is infectious and much appreciated. For those in the audience, make sure that you give everyone up on stage here a follow. They're like-minded, well into the know, trusted. As you mentioned, shepherds holding the torch as we navigate into this new digital world underpinned by institutional grade blockchain infrastructure, some which Merlin is proud to be building themselves. We're not a wallet, so that's for Johnny to be certain. That's something that Merlin is definitely not. However, we do empower our users to track their crypto and create a high performing exit strategy, all the tools necessary to yield a fruitful and productive future investment journey, and all things trending towards generational wealth. Alex, I do see that you're raising your hand. I do want to give Crypto the opportunity to speak, but Crypto, and before you do, I just want to give Alex the stage. She is our special guest, and then we'll pass.
Please do.
Pa-
Please do.
okay, thank you so much, and we'll pass the torch right over to you, Alex. The floor is yours. What are your thoughts?
Sorry, I can't see much of anything. My screen keeps going blank, so I don't really know what's on right now. I don't know what's happening with the space right now for me. It's totally glitching.
Oh, well, we hear you loud and
So
clear. That's
okay, good.
all that's most important. you
Just
look you
FYI, in
still
case
you
you know,
look
I'm talking.
you look great on our from our end.
Oh, great.
Your avatar is on point.
Oh, fabulous. Um, just two things. So one, from Johnny's comment, I definitely care who has the keys. Like, it's wonderful to be able to see where things are moving in that multi-sig, but it's really important to know who's got the keys, because I don't want to see the public's funds drifting over, like, to North Korea, or, you know, or to someone else, you know, or some hacker who's got, you know, possession of it, who's now playing with all of that, you know, stuff that is our benefit. You know, already I'm kind of pissed, because, you know, remember all the bailouts of the banks, and all of and the insurance companies, et cetera. You know, those were tax dollars that were returned, but and with interest. And I already am still waiting for my check. I don't know if anybody else got their, that was a loan from of tax dollars that was returned, plus interest. I did not get my loaned money back, plus interest. I didn't get a check. So I certainly don't like my money walking off. And I don't really trust that. I mean, aren't we all in the space a little bit, because we don't trust that our money doesn't walk off? And we've seen it all walk off before. So that's one of the reasons why I definitely want to know who's got those private keys, because we've seen people walk off with our money before, and I'm still waiting for my bailout money to come back to me, because it didn't come back to me. And Cardano, one of the reasons that we don't want to just print money to buy new assets is because that devalues all the rest of the money that's already been printed. Because the value of, and I'm assuming, maybe, you know, if maybe you were just being sarcastic, but just for those who don't understand about how inflation works, you know, inflationary pressure is essentially when you've got too much money chasing too few goods. The value of the dollar is based on the sum total of the product and services that we produce at any given time. So it's the amount of goods and services plus the amount of foreign reserve plus several other factors, including some exchange rates, all of that sum total divided by the total number of dollars in circulation. That's how we get the value of each dollar. And if there are more dollars floating around, then the value of each dollar is smaller. So if there's 1 trillion in total value in GDP plus foreign reserves plus exchange plus all of that, and 1 trillion of total dollars floating around in the universe, then each dollar is 1 trillionth of $1 trillion, which is $1, right? But if suddenly the amount of value gets cut in half, so it's $500 billion, but we still have $1 trillion floating around, then that means each dollar now is worth half of its original value, which is 50 cents. That's why the Treasury works, or the Fed works to suck up dollars, because now it has to have fewer dollars. We need $500 billion floating around in order to match that total amount that's floating around. And then when it does its next check, if it says, oh no, crap, now there's $1 trillion again, now it has to suddenly pump out $500 billion again to make sure there's $1 trillion floating around. So that constant in and out of money, like how much money is floating around, that check of how much money is floating around, plus how much value is out there, that comparison is what the value of each dollar is, and it's a really delicate balance. And trying to make sure that we don't push one way or the other is really tough. So that's constantly why we're adjusting those interest rates, because we want to either make people get more money put more money into the system, right? Either get more dollars or take dollars out of the system. That's what those interest rates are. And I can actually break that down further if you guys are interested, but that's really what they all key to, is getting money in and out of the system using those repo markets, if you guys have been hearing about that. So that's really what all of that is do you want money in the system or you want money out of the system, based on how much money is actually floating around, how much value is floating around, right? You got to figure out first how much value is floating around. And we're really the only country that has to do this ridiculously complicated calculation, because every other country is basing the value of their fiat in some way on our fiat, either because their fiat is backed by the dollar in their reserves, or because their fiat is tied to the dollar in an exchange. So, in some way, their calculation is fundamentally easier, because really all they're trying to do is maintain a particular rate relative to the dollar. But we have to go through this ridiculous, incredibly complex thing to try and figure out what each dollar is worth over and over and over and over and over again, multiple times a year, right? That's what these FOMC meetings are, is here's what we figured out relative to the amount of goods and services that are out there, plus the exchange rates and the reserves. Here's how much money is out there. Here's how much value is out there. Here's what we think is going to happen in the future. Here's what we're going to be doing with our money. Here's what the base interest rate is. So, and that's the only lever they have, really, which is getting weaker all the time, which is a whole other issue. But the entire global economic system resting on one fiat is extremely dangerous, which is why we have to have a non-fiat based stable coin as a secondary backup to our fiat. We need another monetary system that is completely separate from any fiat to back up a failure. Because right now, if the dollar fails, the entire global economy fails, full stop. We don't have a place to put your money where, oh no, the dollar failed, let's put it in the yen. No, no, the yen is going to fail, right? No, no, let's put it in the euro. The euro is going to fail. Like, all of these are keyed to the dollar. So we're fundamentally screwed if the dollar fails.
In a way, it's what you're describing, Alex. If correct me if I'm wrong, it's the Triffin dilemma, where from what I've understood, is usually cited to describe the problems within the role of the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. And I believe this was established in result to the Bretton Woods system. Would it be number Bretton Woods 2, or but ultimately, now that we're in Bretton Woods 3, or I think that would be Bretton Woods 1, but now we're in Bretton Woods 3, eh, is this the final, the move to resolve or reduce the overall, I guess you would say, trend of the Triffin dilemma? Is this to eliminate it completely? Can you eliminate it completely? What are your thoughts? Is that necessary for then?
Sorry, my husband was speaking to me during part of that. I'm sorry. Can you just repeat the first part of that?
Oh yeah, well, what I was mentioning was what you were describing is the Triffin dilemma, where you're basically describing the problems of the role of the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency, and this was stemmed from the Bretton Woods system. If indeed we were at this pivotal moment, called the mass adoption of blockchain or distributed ledger technologies, these new rails, is this the remedy to remove ourselves or eliminate to eliminate the Triffin dilemma, the paradox?
Yeah, I mean, so so fundamentally, I think we strengthened America at the expense of its citizens, which at its core is the Triffin dilemma, right? Which is we really created a strong dollar, we created a strong, powerful um, we created an international economic power at the expense of our citizens, and we made that deal half knowingly, right? On one hand, and I apologize if this is getting way too into economics for what most people want, but for those who are interested, I think it's really important to know this kind of stuff. Um, for people who aren't aware, post Bretton Woods, here was my understanding, right, of the thinking. I studied political economics and economic theory in graduate school, and so what we learned and what I was a Jennings Randolph scholar at a think tank, and this is what we talked about a lot. So one of the things that we discussed was and none of that means anything to anybody, but here's why this is important to you. One of the things that apparently was discussed, I wasn't there, I'm not that old, was that there was this trade-off of let's make the U.S. The U.S. dollar the international currency. And what is that going to do for us? Why do we want to make a strong dollar? What is good about having a weak currency? When you have a weak currency, people will manufacture and do things in your country, right? Their currency, if another country's currency goes far in your country, they will conduct tourism in your country, and they will manufacture in your country, right? You can make things, like there is a lot of work for you, for unskilled laborers in your country, if you have a weak currency. That is actually one of the foundational tenets of what happened with the yuan in China. China realized this and used it to power their economy for several decades. This idea of I can keep if I don't have the pride of having to be the strongest currency, then I can bring work for my people with no education. I can bring them billions of dollars in work, billions of yuan in work, right? Billions of whatever currency in work. People from everywhere, if I create the right structure, people from everywhere will come and they can stay cheaply, they can travel cheaply, they can manufacture cheaply. Everything is cheap in my country, which means if my country is uneducated, or there's a mass of people who are not highly educated, I can get them a good living. And this was what the US said. The US knew this, right? We were a manufacturing company or country, and that was one of the things that we had built our country on prior to World War II, right? That was the whole thing. We were a manufacturing country, and you could work a job after high school. You could work a job and support your family. Manufacturing, right? One of the things that we thought was, well, we will change the nature of our country. We will become a science based country. We will move to STEM. We will move to science and engineering. And we will not have the uneducated population that needs manufacturing. So we will have the best of both worlds. We will have the strong economy, we will have the strong dollar, and we will have the strong people who are the scientists. We don't want the manufacturing. That was the deal we made. That was the deal we made. That is why we decided we were going to go ahead and be the international currency. It's not an easy decision to become the international currency, because remember, you're giving up all of that money for the unskilled labor. And we knew we were doing it. We knew we were doing it. We knew that it was cheaper to make things everywhere else as soon as we decided that we were going to be the strongest currency. And that meant that we were going to be a wealthy country. So we were then going to have a very expensive standard of living, which meant travel to our country was going to be more expensive. Tourism would drop. The desire to go to the country would drop, like the ability to go to this country would drop. So a lot of things were going to drop, but we were going to replace it by being the educated country. Now, we had a problem though. We have an education system that is a mix of a federal and state system and local, right? We have this mixed up system. And the problem was we had this federal mandate that said, make people in STEM, right? Focus on STEM, have these requirements where everybody first finishes high school. Also, yeah, oh, thank you, honey. Okay, thank you, honey. Okay, so everybody goes to high school, finishes high school, because before people were leaving in eighth grade, like there was a trajectory of people that left after eighth grade, finish high school, go to college, right? So not only were there land grant colleges, a lot more colleges opened up and the community college movement started, right? So if you can't get into college, get into college at a local community college that was a cheaper version, that was a 2-year associate's degree, go to college of some sort. Then there was this idea that anybody could go to college, and that the tech companies and aerospace companies and all the technological companies would be hiring, first of all, infinitely, and that they would somehow use manual labor in the same way that manufacturing did, which is not true. Listen, manufacturing just now started implementing automation, and it was news when Elon Musk put automation in his car, the facilities, the factories, right? It was news. That ability has been around for at least 20 years, but he literally just started putting it in the sciences and in aerospace and things like that. They automate instantly. They automate as soon as possible, right? They are, because it's grant based, because money is scarcer, because it's not because they're not looking at employing low cost people. They employ high cost, high value people. They employ as few as possible. So they automate whenever, however possible, which meant progress goes a lot faster there. Also, they're creating the progress, so they're implementing it instantly. So that meant that they hire very little relative to manufacturing. You can't just bring on another person, which was the assumption when they said, we'll just make everybody a STEM place. STEM is like a pyramid, right? The bigger you get, the fewer, like the more progress you make in the field, the fewer people you need to run the facility. But manufacturing is like an inverted pyramid. The bigger you get, the more people you add and the more bureaucracy layers you get. They had this idea that it was like manufacturing, when in fact it was the reverse. And then we started seeing more and more people getting stripped out of companies. And we had these layers of, or these years that kept happening of restructuring. And so what ended up happening, and I don't, and you guys, know from the 70s on, there were these restructuring years where they would keep reducing the number of people, and they would do it in groups because that is the way to avoid the law where you could get sued, right? If you reduce a group of people, then it is less likely that you'll be sued for someone saying that you discriminated against them. So they would take out entire groups of people, or merge and then take out an entire company at a time or whatever. And then all of these people started becoming more like, you'd have large groups of people that were unemployed. And this trend just kept happening. And because of the way that this focus on STEM, you lost a lot of the vocational education. All the money that went into vocational education, even things like PE, music, stuff like that, all started going into focus on science, tech, etc. They closed the vocational schools that used to go directly to apprenticeships in the trades, and they focused entirely on making sure that all the kids went to university. But what happened there? It turns out that when you have accelerated kids in a class with average or slower kids, the pace of the class ends up going at the rate of the slowest kids. That's just what happens in every classroom. So No Child Left Behind, which was well intentioned as a program, ended up making our kids the lowest level of lowest achieving graduation rates, right? We knew the least because we had the most mixed classes ever, right? So the desire to make sure everybody graduated just made sure that our most advanced kids didn't do as well as they would have done had not everyone been forced to go on the same track. The other thing is the loans that happened, we don't have free education, which other countries do. The college education that we had, the schools said we're going to have to charge more because we have more kids. What they did, what the federal government did, is they said, fine, charge more. Well, they said, well, we need loans. The government didn't say you can only charge, you can only take as many students as this much in loans, or we cap the loans at this point. What they said was, go ahead, you know, just make sure that you take as many students as you can. The schools were like, payday. So they take as many students as they can, and now the loans have ballooned because there's no cap on the federal loans. So all of
Wow.
this together has kind of blown up our infrastructure at at the, that's the cost of having the strongest currency. I know that was a very long diatribe, sorry.
It was a well framed explanation, Alex. So thank you very much for sharing, Johnny. Before we wind the space down, sir, because I know that we're actually almost 15 past the hour. Uh, what were your thoughts, sir? And again, Alex, thank you so much for sharing your insights because you are a wealth of knowledge and expertise. So don't ever be sorry.
Yeah, there was a lot to unpack there. I know crypto, my veins wanted to speak, so I'd like to give him the floor. I will just say that I think at the end of the day, by the way, Alex, I agree with you 100%. I might have said, I don't care who has the keys. I didn't mean that literally. I do care who has the keys. Somebody in our government, probably multiple people in our government, need to have the keys and be accountable for it. Very, very critical because they're going to hold our money. You know, we should actually be allowed to pick who holds the keys. That would be really cool. But I don't think that day will ever happen. But nonetheless, I actually don't mind the idea of the U.S. spending some of our hard-earned tax dollars in putting it in an asset like Bitcoin, considering that if it's not going there, we see where it goes, right? It goes $50 million to condoms and hundreds of $1 millions to coloring books and studying fish. I'd much rather see it go into an asset that is a finite asset that we've never, ever, ever had in the history of our lifetime, where the probability of the asset is going to appreciate in value, not depreciate. If you had to print some dollars that are going to go down in value and put them in an asset that's going to go up in value, I actually am okay with that. That's just me personally. Nobody needs to agree with me. I personally am okay with that. Well, with that said, I'll kick it over to Crypto in My Veins because I know he had a stand up and wanted to talk, and I'd like to get his perspective, or let folks here bring their
Thank you
own
for that,
comments.
Johnny.
Hey, Johnny, my brother, I'm back. Hey,
Good to hear you,
I had
brother.
some,
Good to hear from you.
yeah, please follow my new account. Merlin, you as well. You guys both used to follow me. Alex used to follow me. And Cardano, thanks for the shout out, brother. It's been a while. I had some account issues and But I just had to start over, I guess. But please help me start over and validate it's me and not some damn scam account. I'm gonna make it a premium account here pretty soon because it doesn't look like there's any help getting it back.
Well, welcome back, brother. I just followed you.
Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate you, brother.
Merlin account is following you too as well.
Yep, I followed you too.
Yeah, I seen that. Thank you.
I don't even
I
know who's
love that.
speaking. I can't even
It,
tell.
it's crypto in my veins. I've been around for some time. Just for you guys who don't know, I've got over 20,000 hours studying money investing in crypto. I started about 10 years ago. I know quite a bit about the industry. I've been following Alex for some time. She's absolutely one of the. She should have 100,000 followers right now, guys. We've got to elevate Alex. Johnny, get her on Good Morning Crypto for once a month. Call it Hot Topics and Hot Takes with Alex Damsker. It would be absolutely awesome to see her on the show, and I think you guys would elevate each other. She's so intelligent in the Web3 industry in so many ways, guys. If you guys don't follow Alex, give her a follow. She is a gem in this space.
What a plug.
I'm just saying, she's just a gem. I love her to death. I love what she does for the industry. She's so knowledgeable, and she's just trying to push us forward in the right direction. And I just appreciate anybody who's doing that. I had a quick question for Merlin, and then I actually have a question for Alex. Merlin, I don't know if you remember, but I met you way back when you guys first launched, and I talked to you guys about an idea to add to Merlin, and I just wanted to get a quick update and see if you guys ever added anything. My idea was to add an actual alarm clock for crypto, so that when whatever happens, whatever you set your alarm for, if A and B happens, whatever, the price, the volume, whatever you're setting it at, and you get an actual alarm that goes off instead of just some little alert that you never see while you're asleep. I was talking about an actual an alarm clock feature that will wake you up when XYZ happens.
Yeah, I do remember Crypto My Veins. I remember you sharing that idea with me a while back. And I don't know if you remember what we talked about was at the time, because we're a web app right now, we don't have the ability to trigger alarms in your phone. However, we are working on a mobile app. And once we have the mobile app launched, that might be something we can tie into once we're part of the system. So we'll have to investigate that once we get the app launched and see how that works. And yeah, so if you want to get woken up in the middle of the night, that certainly may be something we could do. So thanks for bringing that back up to my.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. I do remember that a while back, but I knew there's not a lot we could do. So remind me again if you don't see that next time we talk and the app is launched. Remind me. But I just did jot that down again on the idea list. So thanks for bringing that back.
Awesome. Yeah, I think something like that would benefit a lot of different, exchanges and other types of, mechanisms in crypto. If they could get some alarms tied to this stuff, that would be very beneficial.
Yep, we'll add that to the list. And I see we have. And thanks for your comments, everybody. Everybody follow all the speakers tonight.
Yeah.
I think Ray mentioned.
Hey guys, he can Cardano can go first, but I do have a question for Alex. I'd love to hear what she has to say.
Go for it.
Okay. Okay, so Alex, with Ripple's escrow being such a unique position amongst cryptos out there, it's the one of a kind in that aspect. What way could the government actually take that and use it and benefit the ecosystem? Like, I know there's lots of different ways, and I've heard some ideas of what could be coming down the pipe, but I'm curious of what your thoughts are of the possibilities with that. I've never heard your take on that.
Well, I don't know what the total, like, what their plan is, what they plan on doing with it, other than I think that they're planning on releasing it all together, right? They've got like 55 million, right? That they release 1 million over 55 months. I think that's what that escrow is. And it automatically releases. And I think that, the idea, what could they be doing with that escrow? You mean, while they hold it, or instead of releasing it? Is that what you're asking?
I was thinking like use cases for, I think the government could take possession of part of it, driving a new use case for liquidity purposes for, the governments to move money globally and whatnot. They would need to hold a percentage of it, and if the government took hold of that escrow to possibly help stabilize the dollar, um, they could use that escrow, for that use case, and it could generate, uh, you know, it would create a massive burn of XRP, which would in time could make it deflationary in such a way where the price just keeps on ticking up. At some point, you know, people could still sell it and it could move a little bit, but it would be pretty steady, and it would just start growing over time, and it would be a perfect inflation hedge. And I just see that as like a grand use case for XRP on a world level. And that was the biggest and best thoughts and ideas that I've discussed and heard with people about the escrow. But I was just curious, like your thoughts
Well,
on that and how deep you thought about that at all.
um, I don't know. So this would be something to think about. I mean, one of the things that they need to do really is tie Ripple into RippleNet. So people use RippleNet, but they don't necessarily use Ripple. RippleNet has huge use. And so the XRP isn't going to shore up the dollar. I mean, you have to think about the actual use case for what exactly, XRP is doing particularly, right? And it is easing the cost of transfer, between banks across borders. So, what could be done with an amount of XRP? Well, if it were tied to Ripple, then basically they'd be collecting a crap ton of transaction fees. And that would be pretty amazing, right? So you buy a bunch of XRP. Let's say that Ripple decides that X like RippleNet can only be used by paying with XRP. Then there's inherent value in XRP, right? Let's say that then also the transaction fee for being used, even though it is fractional, right? That transaction fee is in XRP. So then essentially you have what Ethereum would have been had it not been. Well, it has too many problems to be doing this, but essentially what you'd be doing is you basically be in holding XRP, you can end up increasing. You do one of two things. People need the cheap transaction fees. If there's a limited supply of XRP, then either you possess the ability to control the transactions of the banks, or if XRP is, for example, instead of the only way to pay it, but is the means of redeeming the transaction fee, then XRP is essentially just collecting a bunch of transaction fees from RippleNet. But the missing link really is the ability to tie that XRP to RippleNet, because RippleNet is that engine making Ripple have all that value. So that's really where we need that link to form. And the thing is, you can do it, right? You can form it. Just that's a decision that needs to be made. So that's one of those things where you have to kind of go, okay, well, let's look at how we can tie this asset to this value. Let's connect those two. And then you can say, okay, now that's where this value is. But it may mean changing the mechanics of XRP in some way. So just, that would have to go through a series of proposals and making sure that the XRP community would be for it. But assuming that everybody would be for it, there's no reason why you couldn't do that, to my knowledge, right? So there's
Yeah,
that on
yeah.
that.
And imagine like if we get to a point where it does become a great, like maybe even the best inflation hedge, because it could become so steady. If the US adopts it, next thing you know, other countries are going to start adopting it as well. And the more countries adopt it, the more countries that are going to adopt it or find its use as a major use case. And, then if it became that inflationary hedge, like it could be very premium. And then everyone wants to hold their money, or at least a percentage of their other money in this type of value train, if you will. My God, it could really do some really big things for the world. Just the idea that it's going to save the transaction fees is going to trickle so far and save so many people so much money, and that money is so valued in some of these smaller countries. Every single dollar counts, and that's the biggest place where it's going to make a difference, in my opinion, is these small countries. But bravo to everything they're doing, and I hope they're extremely successful. I'm rooting for them. They're sitting next to Trump at the table almost, so I'm rooting for them hardcore. So, but thank you for your take on that. I appreciate it.
Cardano review. You got any questions, sir? See your hand up over here.
Oh yes, I had a quick question for Alex about like the student loans and the predicament that a lot of students are in now, the college debt. Do you or have you heard of any particular solutions to kind of like fix that and kind of get our country back on track? Or is that something that we're still trying to figure out?
Oh, I don't think there are any solutions planned right now. I mean, we are so far off from our system is designed for a completely different mindset. The system, our universities, um, were designed for the second sons. If honestly, that's where our university system comes from. They're designed for the people who didn't inherit the land to gain a career, right? But it's a family that had some money to contribute to the university, et cetera. That is how our university system developed. There are people who went uh, into like the church. They went into some studied particular areas, some fields and things like that. But often this was just what the second sons did, and third sons and fourth sons, right? This is what our university system was for. So it's not actually, it's from the European university system. And I know I talk a lot about history, but everything makes sense when you understand what started it, right? Where did we even get this from? It's not a system that's based on let me give you a career so that you can survive and support your nuclear family, or give you a trade or something like that. That is not what this country's university system is from. Technical schools and stuff like that came out later. That's what that is, right? Is here, let me teach you a trade, let me teach you something so that you can learn and support yourself. But the idea of the liberal arts school, that is not really designed in this fashion of like, let's, let me do something practical with this career. So, we don't have a system in place. The idea of helping, of having a universe, of having the federal government fund it, that is something that came in later, when we had this idea that that everybody needed a degree, right? Originally, we didn't even have the federal government funding your education in a loan that you had to pay back, right? It was just, you had the money to pay for college or you didn't. The idea that the government would come in and give you loans, that is a later idea, because it had all these people now who could not afford a university education, but the loans were essentially paid back within the first 10 years of work, right? The loans were at a rate and in an amount that could have been paid back within the first 10 years, right? So, all the way up through the boomers and the older part of Gen X. I think you have people who paid their student loans up through the first 10 years. Through the end of Gen X to millennials down, that blew up entirely, because that's when we started this No Child Left Behind. Everybody got flooded. The prices just blew up. Schools accepted way too many people. They charged whatever the hell they wanted. It was just this crazy thing, and then suddenly you had a huge amount of debt and no guarantee of a job, and people paying their college educations or graduate school educations for literally their entire career. That was never actually something that anyone considered. Nobody, when they set up FAFSA, nobody thought that you'd be paying your loan the entire length of your career. The idea that a student loan is good debt is premised on the fact that you would pay it back within the first 10 years of your career. If you can't pay it back within the first 10 years of your career, it doesn't count as good debt anymore, right? It's not always good debt. You shouldn't be paying it back for the entirety of your career, but that's what people are doing now. And you can't discharge it in bankruptcy, which is the other big issue. So we don't have we don't have a fix, because all of the universities would have to fundamentally change their acceptance programs again. They would have to change their funding again. The student loan programs would have to change again and cap the amount of money they offered to schools, period, saying this is how much we have per student and that's how much total you're allowed to get. If you accept more students than that, they're not eligible for loans, in which case they're not going to pay you, which means you don't get that money at all. So they're not going to accept those students. So, and then what do we do with these students now who graduate from high school but have no college to attend? So far, they've been eaten up by MOOCs, which are dying, and by these the for-profit schools, which are not helping them at all. That's just another way to take their money with the promise of somehow you'll get a job. But the truth is, jobs are declining, right? Jobs are declining everywhere. And a lot of that is the nature of technical progress, right? AI is part of that. Technical progress means fewer jobs over time. We are a country that adopts technical progress faster than most other countries, and we're reducing jobs. So we have to consider, more than other countries do, what do we do with people that don't have the possibility of a job? Because the total number of jobs out there is fewer than the total number of people who want to be employed. That's period, the way it is. And the total number of jobs that are out there is going to be shrinking over time dramatically, even as the total number of people who want to be employed stays the same or grows, right? So we're going to have to figure out, what do we do with the difference, right? It's not going to work to continue to force them into colleges and then lie to them and say, there's tons of jobs out there. No, there's not, right? It's not going to work to say, oh, you're on your own, because what does that mean? We're just going to let people starve in the streets? That's going to lead to civil unrest. So Should we say, well, move to another country where there are jobs that are manual labor jobs or other types of jobs? Like move to another country. Should we make it easy for people to emigrate to other countries and hope that they make it easy to immigrate? Should we force our citizens to become migrant workers? Because that's the next level, that we're looking at. What is the next plan? Because that's really what all of this goes to is, what do we do with that differential, that chunk of people who are of working age, who want to work, who don't have a position available? They're not in either an elite class, or they're not eligible for one of the university positions, or they're not, for whatever reason, they're not in the workforce, and the workforce is rapidly declining. I mean, now we talk about how wonderful it is that you can actually found a unicorn company, right? $1 billion valuation company with 3 people. And that seems like something that's, wonderful and amazing. But when you think about it, right now you have companies that have 1 million in revenue, that have 1 to 2 people running them. But that used to be at least 20 people, right? So now that's 18 people that don't have jobs running this kind of a startup. When we talk about a unicorn company, that's 500 to 1,000 people who don't have jobs, because you can run it with 3 people. So all of these startups that can happen now, right? We have all these new companies that we can start, and they can grow very quickly, but they're not employing people. They used to be the largest driver of employment. Small and medium enterprise were the largest drivers of employment. Over 60% of employment was through these small, medium enterprise. But now they are not, because you can do so much with a much smaller workforce. So what are we doing with all of those other people? You can't force them to be entrepreneurs, right? Not everybody is designed to be an entrepreneur. Are we just going to say, well, good luck under that bridge? I like, we have to have a plan. As much as people want to say, good luck with that, you're on your own, whatever. That could be your kid. That could be your mother. That could be somebody that we have to look at this reasonably, because the likelihood that it's going to be someone that that you know is someone who is an intelligent, smart, good worker with a great work ethic, who just can't find a job. The likelihood that it's going to be someone like that is much higher, right? Than that it's some stranger that you don't know who's a drug addict on the street, right?
Oh
It's
no,
it's
yeah, yeah, I agree like 100% with you. Like I personally know someone who graduated with an aerospace engineer degree, top of their class, and they can't find a job. It's like when you're speaking as facts, that's figuring out like, what are we gonna do? Like, what are some things that we can do as a country, or what the people do who are finding themselves in these predicaments?
I have no answers. I am not an elected official. I'm selling nothing and running for nothing. I'm just, you know, I'm just saying, like, this is a serious issue
Yeah.
that needs to be addressed, and it makes me a little disheartened every time I see people just sort of, run past this issue, or, just say tear everything down or privatize everything, because be careful what you wish for, right? It's the world gets scary really fast. My family came from a country that was an older democracy than the US. No one thought it could happen, but they elected someone who decided to become a dictator, and it's all fun and games until they start killing people in the soccer stadiums, 5,000 at a time. Nobody thinks it's going to happen until it happens to you in your country. Like, we had to leave. People were getting killed, right? You never think it's going to happen until it happens in your country. And it's one of those things that's like, it's an older democracy than the US. No one thought that that would happen. And it changed people forever, right? Like, I am terrified of government because I know no matter how much you trust your government, you think, oh, the institutions have been there forever. Of course, they're never going to change. Nothing bad is going to happen until it does. So I'm always wary of government. I never trust what people tell me because I'm always like, you know what? Like, I mean, I want there to be a government because the government is much fairer at supplying things generally than private companies are, right? I want someone who doesn't have a vested interest in things, but I want checks and balances. That's why I argue about overreach all the time. I want everybody watching each other. That's what I want. I want everybody watching each other. I want everybody I want everybody skeptical of everybody. That's me. Maybe people have a different perspective, but that's the other thing is like we got to also, this whole country is about the population. It is not about the government. It is not about the companies. It is about the people who live in it.
We the people. You're absolutely right, Alex. Well said. Uh, oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're absolutely right. But we are nearly
Like an
four.
hour late. I know, I'm sorry. I know.
Yeah, it's all good. I know that Johnny's still on the call here, and it is way past his bedtime on the East Coast. So I do want to give him an opportunity to make any closing remarks before we do shut this down. Because, and you'd be surprised, Alex. I was a good hubby myself over here on the West Coast. While we were chatting here, I did whip up the family chicken legs and all that fun stuff. So we're all well trained across the U.S. here, especially those on this call. We're always hovering above the target. Johnny, floor is yours, sir, before we shut things down.
Right, did you whip up that chicken with barbecue
Ah,
sauce or mild? What are we
you
talking
know
about?
what? I threw it into the oven and roasted it for about an hour, so it got a nice crisp golden brown skin. And these are the legs and thighs. And so then I also cooked rice pilaf as well, and then also some zucchini squash and some other vegetable medleys, and put it all together and served my wife when she got home. So I gotta keep her in good graces too while I'm on a late night call like this. And so
Well, listen, we all know the rule: happy wife, happy life, and so I totally get
so
it.
true.
Sounds good. Keep them all, keep them happy, and it sounds like Alex has her husband trained too. Well, so that's good. But no, Alex, thank you. On a serious note, thank you for your time tonight, and for everybody who stopped by and popped up, and crypto in our veins and Cardano. Renew, all you guys, thanks for popping in. Hopefully you learned something new tonight. If you walked away at one good thing, new thing, then that's a great thing. Because we know nowadays you go to college and it's it's crazy the amount of what a college costs to go to these days. You can learn more on one of these spaces than you can in college these days. That's the sad truth in terms of how the real world works. But anyway, thanks again for your time. And I will say, guys, if you hadn't had a chance to try out Merlin, click on the link. There's a link above or below. If not, just go to www.merlincrypto.com and you can try out Merlin for free for 30 days. That'll allow you to kind of see where you can bring all your coins together in one place. Then, more importantly, you can create an exit plan so you can take emotions out of the game. So when it's time to sell, you won't have to think twice about, do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? You just follow your plan that you created, and you'll find at the end of the day, boy, I'm super grateful that I sold my coins when I did at Ray, because boy, it is nice to be able to buy back right now during these dips. So I just want to tell everybody, remember, have an exit plan. And just remember, don't panic. It's early. We have so many positive catalysts coming in front of us, Ray, that I know people are nervous, but now is not the time to be nervous. Now is the time, as Warren Buffett would say, to blot by when there's blood in the streets.
You couldn't have said it better, Johnny. Speaking as Ray Fuentes, that was the best opportunity to buy was when there was indeed blood in the streets. But you are going against the grain. You're the one individual out of the 100, and which means you're probably going to catch some slack, or you're going to hear a difference of opinion, and that's when you need to button up and remember of all the due diligence that you did to get you where you were, and just I don't want to say hodl, but just do what you deem is necessary for your investment thesis given at that moment. But Johnny, Alex, before I do let you guys go, and Crypto N, I see you raised your hand. Any last comments from you, sir?
Yeah. Hey, Johnny, man. Hot topics and hot takes with Alex Damsker. Write it down. Elevate each other, you guys. I mean, you guys are great people. Alex is one of the most important people in the space, in my opinion. She's so smart about the right things. And Alex, please come back and hang out with us. We love you. We love having you. But please come back. We appreciate you having you here.
Alex, I know that you are regularly hosting your own spaces where you allow your attendees or your panelists to do business pitches. When's the next one? How can those that are tuning in today learn more about what you've got going on in your community?
I mean, damn, I didn't even pay him. Like, wow. That's so sweet.
Love is in the air.
Wow. Uh, so I do every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific. I do a pitch space. I bring in investors, and I do a space where we talk about founder issues, and then I show I teach people this particular pitch style that I created, that is an introductory type of pitch where it allows you to basically go to any like target rich situation and introduce yourself and help you weed out people that aren't interested in the problem that you're solving, or the industry that you're working in, so you can really quickly get to the people that are in your field. And that's how you don't waste time talking to people that aren't really interested in what you're talking about. But and then people can pitch, and people have gotten funded, and everybody learns, and it's pretty fun, and that's how we roll.
Love to hear it. Love to make money, or at least get money thrown at me in some capacity or the next. So thank you, Alex, for coming up on stage. Johnny, Crypto N, Cardano review. Before we let you go, any final comments?
Hey, yeah, just keep on keeping on. Thanks for the space. A lot of great gems there, Alex. I really appreciate you giving your insights and wisdom and everything. And shouts out to everybody. Shouts out to Johnny, Crypto in my veins. Shouts out to Merlin. And yeah, subscribe to everybody.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, appreciate you guys for stopping on by. Fortunately, everyone here is on the right side of history as we know it. And we just got to give massive props to all the brilliant speakers who dropped up on stage, just like Cardano listener or Cardano review had mentioned. Alex is a gem, and everybody must follow her and everyone else on stage. Johnny, you are amazing. Unfortunately, Abs was unable to be here today to, as usual, be your dynamic duo. So sadly, we'll just have to wait until I want to say not next week, but the following, when we have our next X space. Do one basically every other week, or twice a month. Again, Merlin is your trusted application that offers one secure web app for all your wallets and exchanges. Smart exit strategies so you never miss the perfect selling moment, as we've mentioned previously. Also, there's some fresh features dropping every so often. Last week, where Mario earlier on in this space identified all the new feature updates and integrations. And here's a little secret: Merlin's referral program is active, so be sure to share your link to get your friends on board and earn your very own free month subscription. And boom, you've got that Merlin magic at your fingertips. So with that being said, make sure you follow Merlin across all platforms. Right here on X, it's at Get Merlin Crypto, LinkedIn, and Instagram, Threads, D for all the above. We're active across all social media platforms. Again, thank you all for tuning in today. Love you mucho. Johnny, I'm going to play that outro music just for you, sir.
Great job, Ray. Great job, everybody all around. Thank you, Alex, again. And Ray, play that beautiful outro music.
Trying to, if my computer wants to work. There we
Tell
go.
Abs, Johnny, tell Abs to follow me, brother.
I will when he gets back.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Shout out to all
Thank
you
you,
guys.
Alex.
You guys are great.
Happy Taco Tuesday, everyone, or what's left of it.
Or happy Trump Tariff Day Tuesday.
Trump Tariff Tuesday. I like that one. I don't know who's fist pumping, but I know I am.
The music's so good.
That's right, Crypto Ed. All righty, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week and an even better weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Johnny, have a great rest of your day. Talk soon. Love you all mucho. Thanks again.
Good job, Ray. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to the Merlin Crypto Market update located on the X app. I'm Abs, your host and senior engagement officer at Merlin, and we hope you enjoyed this episode from our Merlin X Spaces. Remember, you can catch us live every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. If you want to take your crypto tracking to the next level, don't miss out on our free 30-day trial at merlincrypto.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.